Fontaine, and you're listening to the Homebuyers Hour on WCPT AM 820, where the facts matter. We're going to try and run with two cameras today, so it's going to be a little bit different view. Remotely, we're still having trouble getting hold of Joey, but we're going to get hold of him from the Federal Savings Bank, and so he should be joining us shortly. But in the studio with us, I have two of my favorite people. I have my favorite attorney, Patrick Loftus of Loftus Law. Patrick, if you don't mind, give someone a shout out and tell us about you.
Good morning. My name is Patrick Loftus. I am with a law firm called Loftus Law. I was instructed by my wife, Anna, to say hello to our kitty cat.
Nice.
Her name is Naya, but I like to call her the little stinker.
That's all good.
Good morning, little stinker.
I love it.
She's going to be the only one up early enough to listen to this, so this is probably actually quite appropriate. If you want to find out about real estate law or just real estate law. Let's stick to that. My number, you can call or text 773-632-8330.
Well, he didn't want to go ahead and plug it, but I'm going to. All right. My friend Patrick here has gotten 25,000 followers on his Cheap Flights TikTok. How do people find that Cheap Flights TikTok?
At Let Me Help You Fly. And I only paid for some of them, so, you know.
That's a lot of followers in just a few months. So normally we bring on a real estate agent and we try to talk about ethics and, basically how to do right by the clients. And today I'm going to do a little bit of a mix-up. So I'm bringing in another home inspector. He is a competitor of mine, but I really value this person. And he does some unique volunteering work that I think is just special. And if we could raise some funds for him, I'd like to go ahead and do that as well. So, Greg, if you don't mind, Gregg Dimpfl, please tell us about you and your business, but focus a little bit on the magic.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me, Charlie. My name is Gregg Dimpfl. My inspection company name is RFH and Associates. I've owned it for the last 18 years. Like many, I pretty much go wherever the inspections are. A shout out, if I could, to my 94-year-old father, Harry, who is listening.
Hi, Harry.
My lovely wife, Rosalinda, and my daughter, Candace, who is integral in a lot of the stuff that I do with my magic. And both my wife, actually, they're my guinea pigs when I'm working on tricks. But so for the last 8 years, I've been part of an organization called Open Heart Magic. And they train people from all walks of life how to do bedside magic for children in the hospital that are in some cases going through very serious medical issues.
Repeat that organization again, please.
It's Open Heart Magic.
And what's the website for them? How do they...
openheartmagic.org.
And is this nationwide or is this only in Illinois?
No, we're in Illinois, Ohio, and Michigan as of right now. So when the pandemic hit, we, like a lot of nonprofits, lost a lot of our magicians and our board members, so we're kind of in a rebuilding. Before the pandemic, we had 180 magicians. Now we have 75. So
that's a big loss. It's a shame.
It is a big loss. And so there's a lot of kids that aren't being seen. So in the fall, we will be doing what we call Magic U or Magic University, where we will be training more magicians to get out in the hospital and spend time with kids. It's the most amazing, rewarding thing that I've ever done. As long as I can walk, I'll be doing this. And so on April 28th, we're going to be having our 20th year celebration benefit. We've been in the hospitals now for 20 years, and it's going to be at the Hubbard Inn, and you can buy tickets at openheartmagic.org. And I'm also selling raffle tickets. The grand prize is a $2,000 cash prize. So if you're interested in that, you could reach out to me, or you could reach out directly to the website.
Outstanding. And what does it cost to go to school to become?
It doesn't cost anything.
Really?
You fill out an application online, and then they call you, they interview you. You'll come in and do an interview at our office downtown, and then the training basically is once a week, every Monday night for 3 months, and then at the end of that, you do a performance test, and then there's some hospital protocol stuff that you need to learn, and then they assign you a hospital close to your home. And then you knock on the door, the hospital gives you a list. We supply you with all the magic tricks. The Bicycle Card Company is amazing. They've donated all of our cards to us, and sometimes we go through 20,000 decks of cards in a year. So they've been a great sponsor and supporter of Open Heart Magic. And when you get to the hospital, they give you a list, and it tells you which patients they want you to see, and you knock on the door, ask them if they want to see some magic. And if they say yes, you go in, you spend about 20 to 30 minutes right at their bed. We teach them a magic trick. Every kid gets a magic wand and a bracelet that says, "I believe in magic,"
Nice.
and a little storybook that explains how the trick works. And it's just a beautiful thing. It's just really cool.
So give me a story. I want to pick one person, one child out, and tell me about the magic it did, and tell me, why is it rewarding? How did you come in and how did you leave?
Okay, so one of the reasons I do this is, like Charlie, our business kind of can slow down a little bit right before Thanksgiving and doesn't pick up until after the New Year. And so I was just looking for a volunteer opportunity, and I just did a Google search, and the first thing that came up was open heart magic. And in 1971, when I was 9, I had open heart surgery. So
I did not know that.
So I know what it's like to be a kid in the hospital for a long period of time. So it was like open heart surgery, open heart magic. I need to be doing this. So I got involved. One of the kids who got actually a lot of my extra time, I share that story with the kids in the hospital because they can certainly relate. And this kid says to me, "You had open heart surgery?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I just had my 5th." So just to meet a person that had gone through that really scary.
One, that is scary.
Yeah, it's really scary. So, and he just was amazing. We just had a great time. He was really into the magic. He had never seen magic close up before, so he was just awesome. He just totally and completely loved it. Yeah, so it was great.
Nice. I love that. Now, what are some of the things that you're doing? You mentioned the raffle ticket, to raise money. What else are you doing to raise money?
For the event, we're always looking for silent auction items and corporate sponsorships. So there's all kinds of different levels, and that's kind of above what I know and do because I'm the magician out in the hospital. So that's kind of like the office stuff. But so we're always looking for corporate sponsors and auction items. Another thing too, our biggest fundraiser every year is the Chicago Marathon. So we always have guaranteed bibs. So you don't have to get into the lottery for that. Last year we had 55 runners. So this is the 8th year because I'm a giving person. I am sacrificing my bib. So
you're a good man, sacrificing like that. Me too. Just for the record, I'm going to sacrifice my marathon, but I'll drive it if they want me to.
Yeah. So if you are a runner, a runner that would like to work for a great charity, we have a great VIP tent that really treats our runners well, and we help you meet your fundraising goals. But it is our largest fundraising event every year. One thing, if I could just share one story about the marathon.
Please.
We have a lot of the magicians go along the race route and support the runners as they go. And one of my friends who I've become friends with from doing this, Larry, was there supporting the runners. Actually, his son was running in the race that year, and he was wearing a shirt that said "Open Heart Magician," and this woman came up to him and said, "Are you one of the magicians?" And he said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Well, I have to share the story. We had 9-year-old twins, and a couple years ago, one of them passed away from cancer, and every year we continue to put your magic wand on our Christmas tree." So that's the kind of impact that it can have on kids and their families. Not only the families, I mean, the kids are going through some really tough issues, but the family and the parents are going through that stuff right along with them. So,
and I'm sure that any time they could bring a smile to a kid's face, that's like the most important thing.
It's just amazing. It's just a lot of fun. I go. So when you go through Magic University, you commit to doing the program for a year. You go every other week, so it's 26 visits a year. If you're on vacation or sick and you can't make it, we can go into the website and just say I need a sub, and somebody will pick up your shift. Nice. So it's not an issue. The kids will be seen. So it's just a great organization that was started 20 years ago by Mike Walton, and he just built it into something that was really special.
I love it. Mike Walton is a good man now in my books. So this show is really supposed to be about real estate, when we come into it, but that doesn't mean we can't jump off and talk about that. But I know we've been having trouble getting Joey on the air, but I think we got him here right now. And Joey, if you don't mind, I want to know what's going on with Chairman Powell. Nope. Still no Joey. So sorry about that. All right, Patrick, if you don't mind, I know we left off short. Here. Oh, there he is. I knew you were here. So, Joey, if you don't mind, give us what's going on with Chairman Powell, please. We lost him again. All right. I think we might just be bailing on poor Joey. I'm so sorry.
He must have had a squirrel eat through his internet cord or something.
Yeah, or either that or it's not running on the wheel anymore. And yes, Joey, we are making fun of you a little bit.
That does happen.
But Patrick, we were talking, and I know you're not really prepared for this, but
good.
We were talking about condo docs and getting those documents in the past, and I forgot exactly where it was that we left off, but I know there were two major players that are here in the Chicagoland area that provide those docs for most associations. Is that true?
Boy, I mean, yeah, there's two websites really that a lot of the property management companies use. There's one called HomeWise Docs, and then there's Condo Certs. Some management companies have their own way of doing it, and if you've got a smaller association that is self-managed, that will typically be handled by whoever's the most responsible one of the 3 unit owners. So it can be a little bit of a hunt to try to find exactly who is handling the documents. I mean, the big websites that handle it, I mean, it's good news, bad news, right? So the good news is that it's all in one place. I know where to get it. I know how to access HomeWise Docs. But then when I get there, when I see how much it's going to cost to acquire these documents, disclosures, and paid assessment letter, it makes me want to fight someone over at HomeWise.
What are we looking at? How much?
Well, I mean, gosh, especially if you need a quote unquote rush job. Okay.
Yeah,
so, and
that.
they get to decide what is a rush and what isn't.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't typical, but if you were to need the full boat of docs, disclosures, paid assessment letter, plus a big old rush, you could be looking at upwards near $1,000. Now, that's
just
not
ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, 100%. And there's really not much I can do about it. Now, the state legislature did pass a law recently amending the Illinois Condominium Property Act to limit the amount of the amount they could charge for these documents and disclosures to $375, and I think they're only allowed to charge $100 for a rush. Now, what I have seen in response to that is some semantic games where they talk about what they're charging for, and I'm not charging this for necessarily that, but there's other levers they can pull. So of course the legislature, I think in good faith, tried to pass a law that would be in the nature of protecting consumers. However, people are smart enough to figure out ways around it. So, if I'm a property management company or an association, okay, I can't charge $400, $500-$600 for condo docs and disclosures, but I can charge you $200 more on your move-out fee.
What does somebody want then? I mean, what are they looking for in there? I mean, does that include also reserve studies in that?
It can.
Okay.
A bigger building will typically have a reserve study, and it's definitely something I request. Now, I don't believe the Condominium Property Act lists a reserve study. That may be part of the most recent
and this is the law now.
I believe so. I mean,
Okay.
you said you were
Sorry,
going to catch me unprepared.
I did.
The dollar amounts definitely, those stick in your mind. But when it comes to the full amendment, I don't entirely recall. They may have added reserve study to the list of documents that you can be compelled as a seller to provide to the buyer. But what am I looking for? Me personally, so I do want to see the financials. Okay, I don't necessarily care how much they're paying or how much they've budgeted for snow removal or landscaping. But I do like to see that they're devoting at least 10% of their income to reserves. I'd like to see what's in the reserves. Those are all relevant and interesting to me.
Yeah, putting a new roof on is a lot of money.
Can be.
And finding out how old that thing is, and I think it's a big deal.
It is a big deal. And so we're going to go deeper than just the numbers, right? The numbers tell one story, but we want to look at the condominium declaration and bylaws. Okay, so and just to that's real jargony. So when I talk about a condominium declaration, it's basically this document that the developer will record that sticks with the property, and it has all of the rules about how that property is going to be maintained, governed, some restrictions on what you can and can't do. For example, you're not going to be able to in a condominium raise chickens probably, or livestock. You're not going to be able to ride your horse up the elevator.
Or you might have to limit on the size of a dog or something.
Well, it can get that detailed. Now, usually what will happen is a developer is going to record a fairly boilerplate document. They don't want to have too many restrictions. You want to have enough that that it's not the Wild West in that building, but you don't want to restrict it so much that you're making people who want to be your customer into people who aren't going to be your customers. So you won't have like a rental restriction. The pet restrictions will be fairly loose. And then when you talk about when pet restrictions, rental restrictions, these things will generally come into play after the condominium has been turned over by the developer. So when a developer, and what I mean by developer is the company usually who acquires the land and then builds the building. They're going to during the period of time when they're selling the units, they're going to control the association because they'll own all of the units that haven't yet been deeded to the buyers, and so they have all the votes, right?
Yeah.
At a certain point, it tips over to where the unit owners will have, and there's rules. The law says when a developer is supposed to turn the association over, they elect the first board, and then the unit owners are then running the association. So what'll start to happen is the assessment will go up because the developer had a very low assessment. They had a budget. Again, it's going to be geared towards selling units. I can tell you my assessment when I bought my new construction condo was like $230 a month. It's now above $6, and it only took 15 years for that to happen. So that's how you end up with these higher and higher assessments.
But sometimes that's not a bad thing when it comes into it. I mean, you need money to do repairs. I don't know. And Greg, let me ask you, would you rather have special assessments or would you rather have a higher monthly assessment fee?
I would rather definitely have the higher monthly assessments. And that's one of the biggest problems as a condo owner is a lot of times people don't think they have a problem unless it's actually leaking into their unit. So then all of a sudden they get hit with a $20,000 or $30,000 special assessment, and then they don't have the money to pony up to put in their fair share. A question that I have that comes up on inspections a lot is at what point is the selling side required to provide the condo docs? Because a lot of times the realtors are like, we haven't got them. And it would be nice to know at that point, for me, I would like to know if they know what the reserves are based on the things that I'm seeing in the building so that I could share that information with my client.
It would be nice to know. I mean, from a practical perspective on a buyer's side of things, the sooner the better, right? The things that kill deals are surprises. So there may be some surprises in those documents. The agents are generally going to punt that to the lawyers. And I would say, and it can vary as far as what each lawyer, what their process is. But generally speaking, for me, I'll order those documents and disclosures once we're through attorney review and inspection, because as I mentioned earlier, it's very expensive, and so we want to make sure that this is a solid deal, because if you have to get updates, they'll charge you for that too. So there's
so
kind
of them. Yeah, I'm speaking sarcasm right now. I know.
It's one of these things that that just frustrates me, and I was happy the legislature took the steps they took. I'm not so happy to find out that property management companies are like, yeah, that's cute. We got ways around that. That's you've not solved any problem whatsoever. So yeah, I mean the contract does say within such and such number of days after acceptance, the seller is to order them. It doesn't say to provide them, and that's because really all you can control is the ordering of the documents. You don't really know when they're going to be provided. If they're on, if you're ordering from HomeWise and they're sitting there on HomeWise's server, then you'll order and you'll get an email right away saying some of the documents are ready. So yeah, you can get them as quickly as that. If it's a smaller building, on the other hand, and you're trying to get them from the board president or the treasurer, usually that person is an unpaid volunteer in this position, and so they'll get it to you when they get around to it. As the lawyer, I recognize that if the building's not professionally managed, I'm going to have to lead that horse to water a little bit more, meaning I will provide them with, here's the form for the, it's called the 22.1 disclosure. Section 22.1 of the Condominium Property Act tells a seller what disclosures a buyer is entitled to. And so there's a lot of forms for that. There's a form I use. I say to the board president, here, use this form, fill it out, sign it. Here's a form for the paid assessment letter. Here are the documents I need. If any of them you don't have, just indicate that you don't have it. A smaller association often will not keep board meeting minutes, which is, expected, not ideal. Meeting minutes will often have all sorts of really good little morsels of information. If they're talking about special assessments upcoming, if they're talking about, if it's particularly contentious. I had one a few years ago where there was a lot of talk about embezzlement by a previous board and the financials, and then one of the buildings had burned down and they rebuilt it, and apparently the rebuilt building was they didn't rebuild it in the same it was not as robust, let's say. And I'm just going to my client, I don't know that I would get involved with this one. And they were tortured about it because everything else about this property worked for the situation. However, again, Charlie, you and I talk about this all the time.
We do.
It's not up to us to make that decision,
Nope.
but we can definitely put our thumb on the scale if we think it's in the client's best interest.
And that's the key, is whatever's best for them. If somebody does want to talk to you more about these condo docs or anything else that's related to real estate, how do they get hold of you? And you can still point down.
If you want to call me about condo docs, I would do it. Don't do it toward the end of the week. I'm going to be probably okay, I can't say that word.
Cranky pants mood?
Yeah.
We'll go with that. Something simple.
I'd probably go like Tuesday around lunch, probably the best time to get me in a mood where I won't just start,
I didn't say when. I said how.
Well, right, but I'm trying to build, the boundary here. Call or text 773-632-8330, and someone's got an email.
It wasn't me. It's over the years somewhere. I'm sorry, Greg, if somebody has questions, and you didn't mention your home inspection company. Let's get that out there too, and throw a plug. How do people get hold of you?
My phone number is 773-968-1643. My website is rfhomeinspection.com, and email is rfhinspector@gmail.com. So that's how you'd get a hold of me.
That's awesome. And again, my name is Charlie Belfontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. And our website is www.thehomeinspectors.com, and it's a plural ORS. I'm also the president of the Illinois Association of Home Inspectors, and we do a lot of lobbying for our profession and also to help protect the public. And, one of the things we're trying to do is make it a little bit more harder for home inspectors to get a license in the state of Illinois. It's not that we're trying to keep people out, but we really believe that the bar to entry right now is too low, all right? And just recently, and Patrick and Greg, I'd love for both of you to chime in on this. Just recently, I was reached out to by the radon professionals here in Illinois, and they want to pass a law that says that a tenant can get out of a lease if the radon levels come back high for that unit, and then the owner of the building, they're going to have 120 days to fix it. If they don't, then a tenant can just automatically get out of the lease, all right? And I didn't give all the details on stuff like that, but for the little bit that I did give, I'd love to get your 2 cents on what you think about that.
Yeah, well, we were talking about this a little earlier, and you want to make sure as a landlord, I would think that I would want to make my place safe for any tenant to live. So it's not very much, $200 to $250 to get a test done. And then you could just show your tenants moving forward that you've had it tested. If it is a law, that you've complied with the law and that their home is safe. Patrick can speak much more to what the legalities would be if you kind of got into that. We say it's high, and you want to make sure that you're getting it tested by a licensed, trained professional that is going to give you laboratory. They're the ones that the monitors that they placed would test for, and not a kit that you would get at Home Depot. So it's an interesting discussion to have for sure.
Patrick, do you see any problems with the law like that coming in there?
Well, we did discuss this before, and Charlie, some of the things that you and Greg brought up is if this law is going to provide for any test to trigger this 120-day window where the landlord has to install radon mitigation, that could be open for abuse by people who have ulterior motives. I mean,
well, we don't make laws for the good people. We only make laws for the criminals. It's just that I'm sorry, I shouldn't use that word. It's kind of strong. Those that abuse the system, we have to make laws so the system doesn't get abused. The only problem is the people that don't abuse the system also have to conform to those same laws.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a personal problem with enacting a law that is designed to protect consumers. I think as proposed, there are some problems, that to the points that you pointed out, where it's if it's an amateur person performing the test, it won't be clear necessarily that test has actually detected an issue or not detected an issue. Some alternatives that come to mind are, rather than make this a post-lease kind of remedy, provide a right for a tenant pre-signing of the lease to have a test done, and in that way, nobody, you're not creating that landlord-tenant relationship necessarily that becomes one that is difficult to entangle once you've entered into it. Aside from the beginning and the end of the lease, that would be one alternative.
That makes sense.
Another alternative would be if a tenant wants to, after the fact, conduct a test, even if it's a Home Depot test, then if they do detect elevated levels, that would perhaps trigger the obligation, not necessarily for the landlord to install a mitigation system, rather the landlord to have it professionally tested. Because then that way, that amateur test result is not one that was either accidentally or purposefully drawing a false positive for elevated levels of radon.
No, I believe too. And Greg, what's your feeling on testing for radon? Are you a proponent or shrug shoulders?
Oh no, like the further southwest you go, the much more chances that it's going to be elevated. I do a lot of inspections out in Naperville and Western Springs and Hinsdale and all that, and probably 60% of the homes that get tested out there are elevated. So it's certainly something that, and I believe it's more the realtor's responsibility to initiate that conversation, but it's something that I always ask my clients if it's something that they know about. I tell them what I know about it, and then I can refer them to the radon professional that I know, and if they want to do the test, then it gets scheduled and it gets done.
And I'm kind of on board, and I'm a little bit different. So there is a radon testing company, and I think it's called Radon Detection Specialist, and I think they're in Westmont, Illinois, is where they're located at. So if you're listening on this, you really do want to write down their website. It's radondetection.net, at least I'm pretty sure it is. The name of the company is Radon Detection Specialist. And what they did on there was they took all of their results from everything throughout the entire Chicagoland area, and they're big. They do a lot of radon tests, and they keep it up there in a database. So you could throw up a zip code, and they'll tell you how many tests they did in that zip code, what was the highest reading in that zip code, what percentage of houses were over the action level in that zip code, and what was the average of all of the tests combined together in that action level. And for me, and tell me if I'm making a mistake, both of you, I am an advocate for clients to test for radon. I'm just not an advocate to pay me or our company to test for radon. You can get these charcoal canisters at Home Depot, Lowe's, Menards for $30. All right, and that includes the lab fees. And quite frankly, before they created the radon law, all of us used those charcoal canisters. For a short-term test, they're probably just as accurate as the expensive machines that we use. You know, the machines that we have are closer to $1,000 each. I would say between $500 and $1,000 each. Our people have to be licensed to go ahead and do a test in someone else's place, and they get paid very well. So that's part of the reason why we charge $260. I know you said between $2 and $250. Sorry, we're slightly over that mark there. But I like to give an opportunity. The only problem is you can't put that test into someone else's home. You got to wait till you own the house. And then you look at the mitigation portion. How much is that? Usually, I mean, there's always unusual circumstances, but usually you'll find it between $1,000 and $2,000 for mitigating a problem. So now we go and we look in a zip code, and let's say we go to Lincoln Park, Lakeview. I only know those two because we do a lot of inspections in that area, and not one test has ever come in over the action level. The highest was 2, all right? And Patrick and Greg, I'd love your take on this. What do you think about my philosophy on that?
Well, the only reason that I would always recommend that you go with the professional and not the Home Depot is because if you do it during the attorney review and it does come back high, then typically the seller pays for that system. If they don't, then they have to disclose that they have elevated radon, and their attorney is going to advise them just go ahead and put the system in. It's just going to keep coming up. So it gives your client or my client the opportunity for $200 or $260 to find out if they have a $2,000 problem that the seller could pay. And so a lot of people just, it's coming out of the basement floor. And if you're going to have a playroom and you've got your kids down there, obviously you don't want them exposed to that elevated risk. So a lot of people just want to, for the peace of mind. And then if it is high, then the seller typically pays for it. But then when you do have high radon, every 2 years you're supposed to get that system tested again to make sure that the fan system is working properly. So I'd rather be safe than sorry. The last thing I ever want is a phone call saying, "Hey, you didn't recommend that. I didn't know anything about it, and now I've got somebody thinks that they're sick because of it." So I'd rather give my client the option, and then it's on them. If they want to test, go ahead and test.
Fair enough. So you got 2 home inspector views. What about the attorney? How do you feel about that?
I mean, my personal feelings about it are, I guess I have mixed feelings in terms of, what is the bang for my buck am I going to get out of this? Yeah. Greg, the statistic you quoted was that they think 21,000 people a year in this country die from conditions related to radon exposure.
Yeah, lung cancer is what it causes.
Right. Sure. So I mean, it's like if you do the math, the percentage of that, I mean, it's a low percentage play, right? But that said, one death is a tragedy. 10,000 deaths is a statistic. So it's like, if push comes to shove, and I'm buying a house out in Naperville, God forbid, someday I'm probably gonna.
I like Naperville.
Well, you can do that. Oh man, I just lost all my Naperville business.
Yeah.
I didn't have any Naperville business. So yeah, I'd probably say better safe than sorry. Now, let me kind of switch over and put my lawyer hat on.
Please.
There's nothing I can do for you if after you close, you do a Home Depot test for $30 and find out you've got elevated radon levels. You're going to put your hand in your pocket if you want radon mitigation. So,
and that's what I tell my clients.
Yeah.
All right. Everything, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier, it's risk and rewards. So your option is you could spend $260 now for a chance to negotiate up to $2,000, or you can wait until you own the home, spend $30, and then you might be on the hook for up to $2,000. All right. So, and then we look at the past results. Like I said, if we go to those 2 neighborhoods, 0%, what is your real risk that's there? Could it happen? Could you get a high result? Absolutely. All right. But I think the averages speak for themselves. I mean, we're talking in that general area, Palatine, Naperville. The further away we get from the lake, it seems the higher the levels go.
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of complete my thought, if you want your lawyer to be able to negotiate something for you, it's got to happen before you hand over your money. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in terms of giving me as much ammunition to fire away at the seller, go have that test done. However, Charlie, I think your point is a very important consideration. It's the risk reward. Those statistics, as far as what you're quoting, if I'm in Lakeview or Lincoln Park, it just doesn't sound likely to me that all of my neighbors tested below the was it FEMA or IEMA action level, but somehow I'm in some radon hotspot. I probably won't worry about it.
It could happen.
And I don't understand the science behind radon, but just speaking with the radon guy that I use, or certainly recommend, he says that, if the soil is disturbed, which means if you tear down a house and you dig down a basement and all that stuff, you disturb that soil, and something that might have been really packed before that isn't allowing radon up now may be coming up. So, and his philosophy is there's radon coming out everywhere. Every home is going to have an elevated, some radon,
of course,
and you don't know what that level is until you get it tested. So, I don't know the science, so I don't know how much disturbing the soil can, allow more radon to seep into the atmosphere.
Well, let me share a little bit of the science with you then, all
right?
Well,
thank you.
So the Earth is made of uranium, and uranium is radioactive. And as uranium breaks down, one of the byproducts that it breaks down into is called radon. The real problem is radium. So if you ever saw the movie Madame Curie, where she discovered radium, and then everybody started getting real sick because they were getting super high doses, they just can't measure for the radium, all right? That has too long of a half-life, and you can't get a decent results out of it. But because the half-life of radon is so short, we can go ahead and measure for the radon, and then they can use a calculation to see how bad that is towards the radium coming into your lungs, all right? So I think it's important. I really do. I know a lot of people say, well, just open the window, and you let all the radon out and stuff like that.
That actually can make it worse.
Sometimes it can make it worse. You create that negative pressure, and then you start sucking in more air from the earth, and that's where it ends up becoming the problem. So,
oh my God, I'm glad I live on the 12th floor and I don't have to worry about this.
That is important too, because we started this with tenants and renters, and it's the EPA says, they do not recommend testing 4 floors and above the earth. I honestly find that if you're on a slab or a crawl, usually those are pretty low when it comes with it, or if there's already a radon mitigation system in there. I think that gives you a peace of mind. And with the new construction, when they're putting in the passive radon systems, now the only thing you got to do is add a fan. They've already given you the piping. They've already given you all the underground work, the electric, everything else. So you go up in the attic and you cut the pipe and you put a fan on there. That's like $150, $200. And now your radon problem is gone for less than what I charge for the test. I don't know. Should I put a mask on? But I do share this with my clients. I am an advocate to test. There's cheaper ways to do it, but then you take on the risk. Does that change your thoughts at all, or?
It's pretty black and white as far as speaking with my lawyer hat on. Yeah. Does it change my perspective just personally? I guess my decision will be based on the situation. It sounds like there's a lot to think about to determine whether it's worthwhile. Like I said, I'm on the 12th floor. There would be no point in doing it.
No.
And so, yeah, but if I looked at that map of zip codes and I saw that it was frequently elevated levels, $2,000 for peace of mind. I mean, maybe I'm, being snobby, but $2,000 is $2,000.
A mitigation for a condo is totally different.
No, I mean, if I was buying a house.
Yeah, mitigation for a condo is completely different.
And well, whose responsibility would that be if you're on the second floor of a condo and you get it tested?
Oh, Pat?
I got to read the condo declaration, but
So we're still waiting for the condo docs to come in.
well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've not come across a scenario where somebody has tested a second floor unit, nor have I come across a scenario where someone has tested a second floor unit and tested it positive. So I've really never had to look into it. I don't think that that it would be something that the declaration, bylaws, or rules and regs, or any of the governing documents would address, because it would be such a rare situation. You'd really have to take a hard look at what's considered common elements, what's considered limited common elements. Now, you can start to craft an argument to go to the board and say, I want you to pay for some or all of this. Now, when the rubber meets the road, you might have a board that's totally obstinate, and they go, look, we don't see this as a problem, and it's a four unit building, and three of us say, nah. And if that's the case, you're kind of out of luck, because what are your options? Your option is to sue. If you think you're just on all fours, you're right, they're wrong, they're not budging, however, now your only option is to have a judge order them to do the thing that you think that they're supposed to do. The dollars and cents don't allow for that. So yeah, there's what is right, and then there's what is happening in reality. So yeah, I can't tell you with any certainty what would happen in such a situation. But yeah, those are some of the places I start to look, as far as if I'm trying to make an argument to convince a board that they ought to contribute.
I love it. And how do people get hold of you if they got more questions on that?
Oh God, you're gonna call me on that too?
Calling you on everything.
Call or text 773-632-8330. Follow me on Insta at Loftus_law. Follow me on TikTok at LoftusLaw. And don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe and hit the bell so you get a notification every time we do this.
I love it. That's going to be on our YouTube channels, and we are going to be bringing another one just for the radio show. Gregg, if somebody wants to become a magician and get involved with this program, or if they want to talk to you about the home inspection profession, how do they get hold of you?
Reach me at 773-968-1643. If you'd like more information about becoming an open heart magician, you can call 312-624-8079 and talk to Aaron, and he can kind of walk you through the process. And if you would like raffle tickets or to buy tickets for the benefit that's coming up on the 28th in April, you can reach out to me, or again, you can reach out to the office at 312-624-8079.
I love it. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I want to maybe clarify why I sound like such a nudge when you ask me for how do I contact you about condo stuff? I don't like condo disputes.
Who does?
Who does?
I don't like any disputes. Yeah.
But as a lawyer, one of my main jobs is to solve problems, resolve disputes.
Okay.
These kinds of disputes usually are very emotionally charged. Nobody's thinking in their adult mind.
Nope.
And it's this person's doing this to me, and I don't like it, and it's wrong. And, it just...
I want you to beat them up for me.
Well, yeah. I mean, Charlie, not to trigger you like I do every week, but it's not too different than divorce law, really, in terms of how emotional it can get.
Yeah.
And I don't want to deal strictly with emotions, because I'm leaving my expertise. I'm not a trained therapist. I don't know how to resolve those kinds of emotional issues. So yeah, I do. Someone calls me with a condo issue, I go, here we go. I'm just about to do some free therapy.
But isn't that also, as humans, we are emotional creatures, and as real estate professionals, the whole buying a home thing is emotional, right?
It is.
And we need to think logically.
Well, yes, but these are another level. And I wonder, Charlie, what if I wanted to contact you about something really...
turning the tables.
About inspections, and maybe you can even talk a little bit about, what an inspector's role is when it comes to a condo and
That's
some
a
of the
good
common
thing.
elements.
And I'm going to turn it back on you so in a little bit. But yes, my name is Charlie Belfontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. If you press 2, that'll get you to me so you could even talk to me just right now, at least not for the next 15 minutes or so. We're going to finish up with this recording. But when we're dealing with condos, I offer my clients pricing, all right? So I guess I need to back up a little bit. The Illinois home inspector law mandates what we have to look at. But there's also a provision in there for us to exclude certain items that typically we have to look at. So depending on the building, and I'd love to get your 2 cents in on this, Patrick and Greg. Let's say it's a high rise and there's 60 units in the building, right? So we give a $100 discount if we don't look at the roof and the exterior. I mean, you're only got such a small portion.
Yeah, you're probably not even going to get on the roof.
They're not going to give us access, right? But yet I just had a client that is buying, it's a 3-story with a basement. She bought the duplex down. So there's really only 2 units in this building. She's going to own half of the roof and half of the building or the exterior of the building. So she wants to have it done. And that actually brought me up. She asked a question, well, can you inspect the roof? Because the top floor person owns the roof, and they got a roof deck up there, and you can't see the roof. Patrick smiles at me. I love it. What do you think, Greg?
Well, yeah, I mean, our inspection is always limited to what we can physically see. So we are not going to be able to see what's underneath a deck. When I do my condo inspections, I want to see everything that I possibly can see. So if I can safely get on a roof, I'll get on the roof. If if I can do the interior front and back stairwells and the grounds around the house, I want to see everything that I can see.
Okay.
And as long as we're talking about condos, this was one that happened to me about 2 weeks ago. I was filling up the Whirlpool tub, turned it on, and about 5 minutes later, the lady from the second floor, I was on the third floor, started pounding on the door. What are you doing? What are you doing? My dining room's flooding.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So there was a broken jet on the tub, and this woman, talking about emotional, she was literally crying. The water was pouring down her dining room wall onto her dining room floor, and she was saying, this was the second time. They didn't fix it. I'm tired of dealing with this. And she's like, I'm not mad at you. I'm just like, oh, my God. So I just took pictures of it, and, I said, I'm not testing anything else until they get a plumber out here, and they found somebody that came out and fixed the jet, and I went back and finished the inspection. But that's one of those things that,
did they hold you responsible for that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's not my fault. Nobody told me not to. The seller knew that at one point there was a problem, and nobody told me not to test it. So I'm just doing my job. So
no, you didn't do anything wrong there. I mean,
yeah,
fingers always come out anyway.
I felt
true.
bad.
That's true.
I felt bad for the lady downstairs, and obviously she was emotional. Obviously her unit was very nice, and now she's got a water disaster there, and she's got to try and resolve something out with somebody that's leaving the building. So it was
You want to hear my most expensive stupid move?
Sure.
Can't wait.
Sure. It was a beautiful home out in St. Charles. It was probably about 6,000 square feet. Master bedroom and bathroom were on the top floor. I was getting pressured from the real estate agent to hurry up, you're taking too long, I want to get out of here, right? Patrick wonders why I'm a little prejudiced to real estate agents. That was one of my trigger memories that I have. So I told him, I said, yeah, fine, you stay here, you watch this tub, all I got to do is the attic and then make sure the Whirlpool tub or the jets work and all that. So just hang here and it's running, and turn it off when it gets up there, and we'll just fire it up and we'll be done. I go up in the attic, I do my thing, I'm at the top of the opening, I'm sitting there at the top of my ladder, I'm discussing what I'm seeing in the attic with the client. And the real estate agent's there. I just assumed he turned the water off already, right? And then all of a sudden we start hearing a little sound. He goes, oh, that might be the daughter of the owner. They're coming back already, And it's getting louder and louder, and it's sounding like that Rainforest Cafe sound,
Oh, no.
Well, the tub overflowed, And I asked him, and this was really cool to see. I go, did you shut the water off? And you could just literally see the blood leave his head as he's going into shock on this sort of stuff. But so he goes running back, and I'm hearing boom, 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 splash, 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 and I'm like, oh, no. And so we turn it off. Water went all the way down to the basement and landed on, of course, this new antique pool table, and it did close to $25,000 worth of damage, or so they said. Thank goodness I had insurance to go ahead and make that all right.
Right, yeah.
And the bottom line is this. I turned the water on. All right. I left. Even though he said he would watch it, I left. And he doesn't have insurance for stuff like that. So, I don't know, Mr. Attorney, I'm still at fault, aren't I?
Well, there's this concept called joint and several liability, right? So even if both of you, I think he's got some blame there.
Absolutely.
He couldn't afford $25,000 though.
Yeah.
Well, look, if you're selling real estate in St. Charles, I would think that, anyways.
Be nice.
He could have put his hand in his pocket, but he's thinking to himself, well, Charlie's got insurance, and insurance will take care of it. So the joint and several liability thing, quickly, is if there's more than one person at fault, each of them is responsible to pay all of it, and your insurance company could have perhaps under a subrogation claim, which I won't explain what that is, but basically it's their ability to go and recover whatever his fault was in the matter.
Yeah.
They'll decide whether it's worth doing or not, and it sounds to me like they just took the hit.
Yeah, and sometimes taking the hit is the best thing to do. So I'm really sorry we missed Joey Matthews today of the Federal Savings Bank. I always like his updates to what's going on in the federal governments and how that's handling with our real estate market and the rates that we all buy. Joey's phone number is 630-235-2405. Again, that's 630-235-2405. And one last time for me, my name is Charlie Belfontaine. I own Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our phone number is 312-544-9180. If anybody's interested in getting into the home inspection business, then they can go to Home Inspection University of Illinois, and that is HIUIL.com, and reach out to me, and we can probably give you some decent discounts when it comes to taking the online program. And Greg, if somebody wants to be a magician, how do they find out more about that?
Openheartmagic.org, or you can call 312-624-8079.
And your phone number, please?
773-968-1643.
Say it again one more time.
773-968-1643.
And Patrick, how do people get hold of you?
Get a hold of me, call or text 773-632-8330. Follow me on Insta, Loftus_law. Follow me on TikTok, Loftus Law.
I love it. And then don't forget, I still want to, I'm so amazed by your TikTok following. In a matter of 2 months, you got like 25,000 followers. Give me what is the TikTok for the cheap flights?
Yeah, so I pick a bunch of flights from Chicago, New York, LA to places all over the world that you might want to fly, and I tell them to you on TikTok. If you want to hear all about it and get excited about traveling to places like Paris, Tokyo, Sydney, Rome, I don't know, you name it, I'll probably find it. It's Let Me Help You Fly on TikTok.
Excellent. And a special thank you to Devin Tingle. He's our producer. He makes everything work over here at WCPT AM 820. And we like to thank the crew for letting us on there. And Bernie, I know you're listening in the driveway. This is Charlie, and I'm out.